Hello, all of you horror freaks out there. This is the Strange Month. So, I wanted to talk about a show that, in my opinion, was very underrated and it was ahead of its time and it should have lasted a lot longer. This is a series called Masters of Horror. I don't know if some of you remember it or not. Before we had American Horror Story, The Walking Dead, and all of these other horror shows that are going on these days, this is what we had. Masters of Horror was a very interesting horror anthology series. There were an hour-long horror films from famous directors that are showcased in this series, with works by Dario Argento, John Carpenter, Larry Cohen, Don Coscarelli, Joe Dante, and the series creator Mick Garris, as well as Toby Hooper and others. I gotta say, the way this series was created, it's like a horror version of the Avengers. There was an idea to put together some of the best horror movie directors and just unleash hell for an hour. The series creator, Mick Garris, I believe that's his name, invited a bunch of horror directors for a classy little dinner and said, let's fucking do this. I wish I was there for that dinner. They probably got all fucked up and said, hey, let's just create our own fucking series, man. You take turns, and then I take turns, and then your turn, then his turn, every fucking episode. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay? Showtime, you fucked up by canceling this series. There were a lot of interesting episodes. Some were very dark. Then you had some that were a great blend of horror and comedy together, and it reminded me of Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, shit like that. Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Well, not necessarily, those are more for kids, but you know what I mean, going that horror anthology route from back in the day. And you didn't really get too much of that during the mid-2000s, There was that, and then they had a little mini-series called Nightmares and Dreamscapes from the stories of Stephen King. And then, they started bringing it back, and then, unfortunately, they fucking canceled Masters of Horror. I don't understand why Showtime would do that. It had lots of great episodes. For example, a young woman matches wits with a deformed and sadistic serial killer on and off a mountain road. A college student renting an old room in a boarding house, discovering a plot by a sinister, otherworldly force. A police officer saving the life of a hideously deformed young woman, only to find herself drawn into a web of murder and self-destruction from which he finds it hard to break away. Political satire in which reanimated corpses of soldiers killed in Iraq return in an attempt to sway the presidential election. And a teenage outcast is kidnapped by a strange couple and locked in a basement with their son, who has a dark secret. You got stuff like that in this series, and it was fucking awesome. Why on earth would you cancel it? So, when Showtime decided not to bring this awesome series back, the creator of the series and Lionsgate started, working together. They started funding the show, and they went to NBC. Instead of renewing this series for a third season over there, they made a brand new series called Fear Itself. Great. What's the problem after it premiered? The fucking 2008 Summer Olympics happened. They put the series on hold, and then by the time it came back, I guess they canceled it. They just ruined it right there. Its fate was sealed. It only lasted one whole season. It's on DVD somewhere, it fucking sucks, Like I said before, we have Ash vs. Evil Dead, we have Hannibal, American Horror Story, The Walking Dead, Stand Against Evil. There's a lot of horror series these days, and there are a perfect example of a great horror anthology show is American Horror Story. Not all of these shows that I mentioned are horror anthology, but I just mean horror shows in general, but it's a damn shame that this series didn't get the credit that it deserved. Well, it did, but I mean that it's a shame that it got canceled, because it deserves a lot more recognition, and I felt like bringing it back and talking about it, so why not? I found the first season on DVD at Walmart. Good stuff. season 2 is very rare, hard to find. I highly recommend checking it out if you're a fan of horror series, horror anthology. There's a lot of great movies that are like that, but as far as the series goes, this was one of the better ones. The idea was perfect. Horror movie directors, or just directors that, sometimes direct horror, whatever, they each would direct an episode. Perfect. Why would you screw that up? Anyway, I've been the Strange Monkey. Subscribe, like me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Have yourselves a good fright. Oh no. Oh no. You're all gonna die.